welcome. You're watching The Money Show and I am Kavita Thapliyal. Today it's Valentine's Day. Love is in the air. While love remains a fundamental reason to be in a relationship, but as they say, love is not enough. When you are in the choice of infatuation, in the early phases of a new relationship, money is probably the last thing you want to talk about. Now, being carefree with spending on dates and, romanticizing the struggle of getting by can be a good thing in theory, but how the two of you align on all things money related matters more than you might think. Now, recently, a man from Maharashtra was rejected for marriage due to his low CIBIL score. The rejection came after the woman's uncle discovered multiple loans and poor financial history in the man's credit report. Now, this led the family to believe he would be unable to provide financial security for the bride, resulting in the wedding proposal being withdrawn. Now, it's time to start talking about finances openly and courageously. Financial compatibility actually means that you and the person in a relationship you are with are on the same page about money. While you have your own opinions and habits when it comes to saving or spending, and if your partner's views are very different than your own, it could cause conflict and be a sign of financial incompatibility. There are also several red flags to watch out for when it comes to money, namely debt and overspending. If you have concerns about your partner's money habits, make sure you have an honest, in-depth conversation about the topic. So let's deep dive into this a very important and crucial topic, and I have with me today Shweta Rajani, Head Mutual Fund, Anand Rathi Wealth, Atul Shingal, Founder and CEO Scriptbox, Shilpa Bhaskar Gole, Founder Nerdy Bird Financial Wellness. Hi and good evening. Welcome to the show, all of you, and happy Valentine's Day, Galentine's Day, and Valentine's Day to three of you. And all right, so while we are talking about love, Atul, financial compatibility might not strike you. The first thing will not be something that you might want to talk about when you get into a relationship. But then, as we all already have discovered, financial compatibility is one of the key factors, if you want the relationship to go on smooth, like any other aspect of your relationship. But how do you break the ice? How do you discuss this? How do you take the first step towards, asking a very basic question? So what's your package? What are your investment strategies like? How do you do it? Because you love the person, and you obviously don't want to look like someone who's more focused on the person's earning and maybe his portfolio and maybe being a nominee in his investments. How do you do that, Atul?
Thanks, Kavita. Thanks for having me on the show, and happy Valentine's Day to everyone listening in. I think the more important thing, rather than the specifics, is the attitude towards money. So if you're more aligned in terms of how you think about money, or at least know how the other person thinks about it. So as they say, money is not a goal. Money is a tool to get there. So just understand how you spend money, how you think about it. And some of this you can observe, right? There's also observed behavior when you're going out, who's paying the bill, when you're going out, what kind of restaurants are you thinking about? So I think having a transparent conversation is important. I don't think you should get into the specifics of how much do you earn, what's your bank balance, what's your CIBIL score. Maybe that's a more evolved discussion. But just understanding the attitude towards money, what are your goals and objectives? How have you been brought up? I think a lot of us get influenced by how have you handled money till so far. And that's going to influence how you think about it in the future. So my advice at this point in time, and we tell all our Scriptbox customers, is have open, transparent conversations as often as possible about your attitude towards money, risk, reward, fear, greed, all that put together is a great way to think about this to begin with.
Very important point highlighted, and Shilpa, I would like to take this particular thread from here. The right attitude and your upbringing, how you've actually seen money matters being discussed at home actually plays a very important role when a couple is just starting on in a relationship or walking on this path of being a couple together. If you want to talk about our spending habits, maybe, or maybe our aligned goals, what is the basic homework that one needs to do? All these discussions we should be doing obviously before you get married, before you decide to start living together. What should be the right time, and what should be the right tone and the right attitude?
Kavita, and happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And I think this is wonderful that we are connecting love and money on such a special day today. So, having said that, Atul and you make a very important point saying that attitude is very important and very rightly so. Our upbringing shapes our money beliefs, our money mindset. And very often we find that the compatibility starts to not match when two people have completely different mindsets about money. And that does come from how they're growing up, how experiences and their upbringing has shaped their beliefs. And rightly said. I would say that in addition to that, there are a few other factors to look at. One is the values that you bring also. So while mindset is important, also what is your guidepost in life? What is it that matters most to you? Because, one partner may value, let's say, fitness and health, for example, and may want to spend more and prioritize spending there, whereas the other partner may be more towards ordering in food and not so focused on those aspects. So it's very important to see the value alignment, number one. And I would say things like civil score and income do matter. So it is very important to very carefully and subtly bring in that conversation before you get into a long term relationship. Because I also noticed that a lot of people come from very different starting points when it comes to their wealth. One partner may be bringing in wealth in terms of let's say gift money from elderlies and also inheritance, while the other partner may be starting from scratch or maybe coming into the relationship with a loan, let's say an education loan that they're paying off. So this is a very important aspect, and I would say understanding net worth is important. It's about bringing in the conversation at the right moment and being able to do that the right way. And in addition to that, I think income also matters, Kavita, because I do notice in a lot of couples that I speak with that this income, the difference in the income. Let's say one spouse earns a lot while the other earns less, or maybe doesn't earn at all. That does lead to certain insecurities between couples as well, and therefore it's very important to address that, because that also leads to an unequal wealth distribution. Because what often happens is there's one high earning spouse who starts to cover all the expenses, is able to create wealth for themselves, while you have the other spouse who's not able to do as much. So the wealth creation balance starts to take a hit if income isn't distributed between both partners equally. So I think that's a big piece as well. And you talk about goals, rightly so. I think when you're sitting together, while before you get into a long term relationship, financial planning may be a bit too much to do, but it's definitely important to sit down and understand that if money, as Atul said, is seen as a tool to get to where you want to be in life, what are all those life goals and dreams and aspirations that you have? So you will start to notice as couples that certain things are common. There are certain together goals that you have, like let's say retirement, educating your children, but there would also be
Right.
certain goals that are very, very different and individual to both of you. So it's important to acknowledge that and gain that awareness between
Right.
couples.
Right, right. So I think financial compatibility, Shweta, you might just want to explain this particular aspect also. It also differs at what point in time you are getting into a relationship, whether you both have just started off, with your careers, or you are at a stage where you are well established financially and even professionally. How does the planning and financial compatibility differ at these two stages of your life and careers?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone, and happy Valentine's Day. As much as love is needed in life, financial compatibility is equally important. And, Kavita, just you were mentioning that at different stages of life, you could have different goals and therefore a different financial compatibility. If you are, let's say in your mid 30s or at a stage where you've built a certain corpus, you're financially a little secure, your goals are more of medium term and long term in nature. I would say you'd be looking at buying a house. You would have cleared a lot of your education or home loan, education loan. You would be on the verge of getting a home loan, planning for your retirement, versus if you are in your early 20s, then you would have more of high spending patterns for short term in nature, as to you may want to buy a car, pay off your car loan, go travel, explore the world. So at different life stages, because your goals change, because your financial capacity changes, your compatibility with your partner could get influenced. So yes, I think if I just have to list down 2 3 points that you should keep in mind at any age you are at, is understand what is your objective, what is your partner's financial goal. You may be thinking of buying a house, your partner may be thinking of starting your own business. So you have to see how you can match and have joint goals. Second is understand your partner's spending pattern at any age. We were discussing this some time back as well. Atul mentioned it. How is your partner spending? Third, understand if your partner lives off too much on debt, have high card bills, high loans. So these are 3 4 factors you have to understand in order to ensure how compatible you are, so that you can have joint goals, joint spending patterns for your together portfolio.
Right, right, right. Atul, because you are from this sector and you've been interacting with a lot of couples also, I really want to understand the kind of friction you sense, or the point of incompatibility in finances whenever you talk to couples, whenever you go out to mentor them, or to handhold them on their financial portfolio or their financial goals. What are the kind of differences and friction that you feel they need a lot of handholding on? Just your common experience.
It's a combination of 2 or 3 things, Kavita. One, I think there's a lack of transparency. And I think this is also because of historical cultural factors. And I stand to be corrected, but and there are three very qualified women on the call. But typically, we found that women leave the matters of money and budgeting and investments to men. And that leads to an imbalanced conversation. So I think that is the first thing we advise on: transparency, awareness, conversations. Also, because of this baggage that people don't talk enough about what they can afford and what they can't afford. And as we were talking about slightly in
So
the older
Atul,
age. Yes.
so Atul, sorry, I'm just asking you in between over here, since you mentioned the first point. Why is there no transparency? What is the problem there?
I think it's cultural. We have never talked about money openly. We have always felt that money is somebody will take care of. And a man typically, and I again apologize if I sound sexist in this, takes responsibility. They will not discuss affordability. We find people going into debt. We find people borrowing excessively while trying to show off a much larger lifestyle than they can afford. And that's why these conversations about budget. So we insist at Scriptbox, if you are doing financial planning for the family, all the members of the family, typically even the children who are adults, join the conversation. So I think the incompatibility comes from lack of information, lack of transparency, and lack of awareness of what is affordable. And it becomes very late, right? You're suddenly going on this holiday you can't afford, or you want to send your children abroad and you're mentally ready for it, but you don't have the finances for it. So I think the compatibility can be managed if you just have open conversations. You can live a very good lifestyle in 50 lakhs, 1 crore, 5 crore, 10 crore. That's much better about the family. So I think incompatibility can be solved by conversations, common goals, and individual goals.
Right,
And also,
right.
lastly, respect for the other person's desires and dreams. People don't have
Okay.
common dreams, right? So you have common dreams and you have individual dreams. I might like to go hiking. I might want to buy a bike. The
Exactly.
spouse
Yeah.
might not, right? So I think agreeing what you can afford, being transparent about it, and accepting the other person for who they are, right? Once you're
Right.
married, all of us have faults, right? You might snore, you
Right.
might do many things. So accepting
Right.
the other person for who they are is really important in all these matters of finance. Right? So I'll
Exactly.
stop there. Give me.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just continue at the same point with Shilpa. Shilpa, you can just add on with one more concept, because what if one of them is working, one of the spouse is working and one is not working, then how do you figure out the entire financial plan for them? Talking about the compatibility aspect, how can they, in a way, balance this entire financial game of the portfolio really well? Because one person will be in charge of getting the money home and one person will be in charge of taking care of everything, okay, including your spend and maybe investments. How can then one or a couple maybe figure out their financial goals and stay balanced at the same time, not be too dependent? Having said that, financial dependency becomes one of the most crucial things for one person, to continue being in a relationship. How do we balance this out? Because a lot of a mental setting and mindset setting is also needed in this particular case. Shilpa.
Absolutely, Kavita. And I think to begin with, what works here is both partners coming from a place of not judging each other. Because what often happens is the stay-at-home predominantly is the woman, and very often she's very scared to sort of have this conversation, to ask the most basic, questions which she believes are very basic and very silly questions. So I feel that both spouses sitting together, having that conversation periodically and coming from a place of non-judgment is very important. Having said that, how do we balance the portfolio? Number one, I think what is important here is the over dependent spouse tends to come from a place of insecurity, and to address that, it's very important that she or he starts to understand what is the amount that they want to pay themselves first, right? So while the person who's earning is already bringing in an income, there's also an important aspect where you are also getting some income out of this income for your own expenditure. The moment that
Right.
starts to happen, you start to honor expenses that are important to you. While doing that, the other bit is around wealth creation. When this imbalance in
Exactly. Yeah.
earning is there, the wealth creation was also done predominantly by one spouse. Sometimes it's also by the non-earning spouse, but the earning spouse says, you take care of investments, I'll take care of EMIs and house expenses. So here it's
Yeah.
very important to make sure that the wealth distribution is equal from the beginning. So you're creating your asset allocation in such a way that it's a 50-50, both for your long-term goals, medium-term and short-term goals, especially for the long-term goals, your retirement.
Right. Right. I have a lot more scenarios to discuss with all three of you, but then it's time for a quick break. And post that, I'll connect with Shweta. And Shweta apparently has an ideal budget parameter for a couple. So we'll deep dive into this, and also we'll try and help our viewers understand how do you frame your goals, because there are going to be individual goals and there are going to be couple goals. How can you go about it? And also, what about if you have parents dependent on you? How do you work that aspect of your relationship, which is a very crucial factor for a lot of couples in a lot of relationships. So a lot more on this coming up after this break. Welcome back. You're watching The Money Show. It's a Valentine's Day special where we are talking about getting the right financial compatibility. I'll connect with Shweta Rajani now, because Shweta, you have a lot of explanation to be done as far as having the right ideal budgeting parameter is concerned. So what exactly do we mean, does this mean, and how do you arrive to this budgeting parameter as per couples' requirement and financial goals here?
Absolutely. For a couple, it's important that you achieve your goals, as well as there is a certain financial independence maintained, but you're not leaving an insecurity amongst, the other partner. So therefore, having a proper budgeting, or, I would say some thumb rules becomes very important. I'm just going to start off with one very simple example here. Let's say you have both the partners working, and very simply both of them assuming earning 1 lakh each, so you have a monthly income, a combined income of 2 lakh. Now you could have, it's very important that you list down all the expenses, your household expenses that you may have, any transportation, rental income that you may have. Put all of that together and ensure that that does not exceed at best 50% of your total income. Second component here becomes that if you are a young couple, you may be in that phase of having some debt to repay. It could be a home loan, a car loan, or it could be a child education loan. So at whatever stage you are, but ensure that the EMIs that you're paying don't exceed 10 to 15% of your monthly expense. That would leave you aside with around 30 to 35% of your portfolio or of your income, which is available for your investments. And as you age, you can increase this component of 35% to take it up to 40, 45%. So, that's a basic thumb rule for how you budget.
That's the basic, the basic structure to get the parameters and the budgeting right. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up this session with a very important question for today. So Atul, financial compatibility also depends upon the gift compatibility or the gifts that you're getting on a day like Valentine's Day. So what is your plan? What are you gifting and what you've been gifted? Shweta, I'll be coming to you also. I don't know if Shilpa is still there with me or not connected, but then this is a common question for all three of you. Atul, you can start.
so I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but I did give a large bouquet of flowers. Actually, three sets of flowers.
That's sweet.
Something I picked from my
Okay.
garden early in the morning for my wife, a large
Okay.
bouquet of Rajnigandha, which she really loves, and then
Okay.
some special flowers. And so, yeah, at this age, we've been married nearly 30 years. I think
Oh,
rings, etc. I'm sure my wife is keen. And actually, unfortunately, I'm away on an offsite. Hence, I'm standing and speaking
okay.
for the show. So we
Okay.
will make up with a lovely
Okay.
dinner over the weekend.
Yeah.
But thanks for the question.
Okay.
Yes. And what am I expecting? Yeah, I've
Yes.
got two daughters. What I'm expecting is that all three of us are able to go together for dinner and spend
Very
some
sweet.
quality time together, given our hectic schedules.
Very
Thank you.
sweet. Sounds like a plan. Shweta, what about you? I know you're on leave and you've specially come for this show, so I'm assuming your celebrations are already on and I've just caught you in between. Is that so?
Unfortunately, that's not the case. I'm in the midst of a conference. But yeah, I think what becomes important is spending quality time. So a quiet family dinner is something that I would have also preferred, either giving to the partner or taking from my partner. And yeah, if this is combined with a weekend, so a small getaway somewhere.
All right, I think all right, I don't think Shilpa is with me, but then that really sums up the show, this very Valentine's Day special show today. Thank you so much, all three of you, for being on the show and helping our viewers understand the importance of financial compatibility before making a long-term commitment like a marriage or even a long-term relationship. Thank you so much. And on that note, it's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.